And welcome back to the Buckle Up Podcast universe with Brandon Rush and Mama Rush. Today we have a very special guest on here, Mary Walker, who is a tech entrepreneur. She's worked in a lot of different things involving tech, but I'm going to have Mary explain it herself because she can probably explain it better than me because she's had a lot of different hats that she's worked and has done a lot of things. So I'm going to have her on here. Right now, we are in 73 countries around the world in 722 cities as well. So we're 722 cities around the world as well. So we're excited for that. Feel free to check out our podcast if you like the guests we have on today. We have different guests from all different walks of life, from the movie business to military to entrepreneurs, teachers, just about every nurses, just about every single walk of life we've had on the show, and we have enjoyed it. Even the casting, if you're an actor out there and or trying to learn about the movie business, we have a lot of people from the movie business, including producers. We've got FBI agents as well. So that being said, welcome to the Buckle Up Podcast universe. Brandon Rush and Mom Rush, and we will bring Mary on.
How are you?
Lovely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just fine. Loud and
Oh,
clear.
Perfect,
great.
perfect. Well, Mary, I just hit record. I want to welcome you to the Buckle Up Podcast universe with Brandon Rush and Mama Rush. And Mary, we're excited to have you on here today. I was kind of telling the guests, I was telling the audience before that we are in 73 countries and 722 cities around the world. So we're looking forward to having you today. Tell us your story
Amazing. I
for
love
our
that.
audience. Oh yeah, thank you so much. It's all about you today, and I'm gonna have you tell us your story, and then we will get into it from there. But I would like you to introduce yourself to our audience and what you do in your life. Kind of like the voice message that you left us. You can go just like that.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's really
Oh,
nice to meet you, Mama Rush. Nice to see you, Brandon. I do
absolutely.
have my kitten as my podcast buddy today. So if you hear some meows, that's who it is.
Okay, what's your cat's name? Awesome.
This is S'more. S'more.
Okay, nice. How long have you had S'more for?
Like a week. He's a kitten.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, if you see a little critter, that's who it is.
Okay.
So yeah, I am a Michigan, I'm a Michigander, born
Oh,
and
wow.
raised, and always was fascinated with how things worked in the world. And like most little kids, I wanted to be an astronaut, or the president,
Okay.
growing up. And so over the last, 4 decades, life has really brought me to the intersection of those two dreams.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so I feel very fortunate. Yeah, from Michigan, I studied engineering in school, loved building things growing up. I think engineering is transformative from the way that we move around this world, cars, airplanes, to the
Yeah.
infrastructure, how we get electricity and water. And so I always wanted to be part of the future of the planet. And so that is
Okay.
really why I studied engineering.
Yeah.
And while I was in school, I was thought, how do you translate um, engineering and innovation and technology to make the world a better place? And
Okay.
so, starting senior year of undergrad and into grad school, I started creating really the basis of a nonprofit, which later became an organization called Hatch International,
Okay.
um, where we worked with communities around the world to develop um, local technology solutions
Yeah.
for local problems by local communities,
Okay.
to incubate their ideas into small businesses that would be sustainable. So examples would be in India, heavy monsoon seasons, they use kerosene for lamps. And so, unsustainable. And then they would also go out if it rained. So we
Yeah.
developed a solar powered lamp, which was completely waterproof. You could actually like drop it into a pond if you wanted to, and it would be
Okay.
fine. Yeah, yeah. And then we taught our ground partners, how to construct the solar lamps and turn it into a profitable business. And then we worked with a similar model in 4 different countries around the world.
Really?
And yeah, I built that up. And then simultaneously, I was, working full time as an energy engineer. I worked on the first all-American electric vehicle battery pack at General Motors. It's actually
Wow, really?
have
Yeah.
a patent there. Yeah.
Holy
Always
smokes.
always loved energy, always loved cars growing up, so that was really exciting and fun. And then yeah, I got pulled, I felt the pull to policy when I was able to take a job after GM in Washington. And I was a consultant for the Department of Energy. And I saw how transformative one single piece of policy could be. So let's say you set car emission standards. That is nationwide. All of a sudden, all the cars have to meet that standard. And I thought, wow, policy is powerful.
Yeah.
You know, innovation and engineering is, but policy in one swift motion, you now have forced the innovation of, for example, vehicles.
Yeah.
And so that's really when I started to think, okay, maybe I could take this policy thing a little bit further. And so I had heard about the Foreign Service from this former US ambassador in one of the countries where my nonprofit was in Madagascar. And he was like, you should think about the Foreign Service. What is the Foreign Service?
Yeah,
I
seriously, what
had
is it? You have to explain
never
it to me
heard of
too.
it before, never heard of it before, especially as an engineer from the Midwest, you know, where you don't really talk about these things. And what it is, it's Americans that go and they serve our nation in embassies and consulates around the world, and they represent our nation's interests, no matter whatever the subject might be.
Okay.
And it's diplomacy, it's diplomacy. And so I thought, wow, what a great opportunity to be able to translate some of my passions for building communities around the world and then be able to represent our nation and to be able to serve. So yeah, I took a series of exams
Okay.
over a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty intensive process. Apparently, the admission rate is like lower than the admission rate to Harvard. Anyways, take a whole bunch of tests, got in, and ended up serving in 6 different assignments in 4 continents over
Okay.
the last 12 years.
Holy
Yeah.
smokes.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then made my way back to Washington, and I was working on our critical and emerging technology foreign policy
Okay.
at the US Department of State. So that's my home agency. And so I was working on formulating the strategy, the partnerships,
Okay.
the agreements for us to be able to work with other countries around the world on critical and emerging technologies like AI, quantum, biotech, nuclear, space, robotics, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then ended up getting so details kind of like on loan over to the White House, where I
Okay.
served in the Office of Science and Technology Policy in charge of our international science and tech for the White House.
Wow.
So yeah, like talk about full circle, you know, like my
Seriously, you've
love
hit
of
everything.
technology, my love of international relations, and then also policy. So it really was an amazing opportunity. Went there, got to see how things worked in the White House. And then, you know, for years I've been working on these startups on the side, you know, nights and weekends, and then was starting to get great traction, and then made the decision to actually take a break away from government for a little bit
Okay.
and focus on these companies. So now I'm the founder and CEO of 2 companies.
Okay. Let's hear the name. Yeah. Tell us about it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one is called Symphony Space. So it's a space infrastructure company. We design, build, launch, operate orbital platforms. So a bit like Airbnb or AWS, but for space infrastructure.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And then the other one is a sports and fitness technology company. So 2 very different companies, 2 different teams, but they really tap into um, different passions that I have. So
Okay.
that's what has brought me to today.
Mary, that is you first off, that's extremely impressive. I think my mom probably agrees with me on that it's extremely impressive. What made you have this actually, you know what, I'm going to use this one question here that I thought, what was this significant experience that helped shape you today? And the reason I ask that is because you named all those different things that you've done, and it kind of feels like one leads to the other. So what would you say might be the most significant experience you've had, or a significant experience that helped lead you to where you are today?
That shaped me. I would
Yeah,
say
ma'am.
the fundamental driving force for, getting engaged with the community and service started before I was born.
Okay.
Before I was born. So I'm a child of immigrants,
Okay.
and they immigrated from China. And in China, there is the one child only policy. There was at the time.
Yeah.
So you could have one child, and I'm the second child.
Okay.
And so yeah. So fortunately, my parents had come to the US to do their graduate studies at the University of Michigan.
Okay.
And so I was conceived, I was born in Ann Arbor
All
for
right.
that reason. They were there. And so I always think, if I was conceived in China, at the time, I would have never been born.
Yeah.
So just by virtue of the fact that I was in the US, that my parents were in the US, I was really saved.
Yeah.
And not only that, but we grew up with nothing,
Mhm.
so immigrants studying came with nothing. And so mm, our community really raised us. I
Okay.
remember every Sunday we go to the local community church, and they hand out this paper bag full of all these, goodies that we would use for the week, pasta and milk and eggs. And um, we never had a babysitter. Like my mom, who ended up becoming a single mother of two young children, relied on our neighbors and, different community organizations to help raise us, because we definitely couldn't afford anything like
Mhm.
babysitters or paying for aftercare services. And so I felt like this deep, ingrained appreciation for community and the importance of also providing other people opportunities when you could.
Yeah.
And so when eventually, like we, my mom finished her graduate degree, she ended up doing research at Pfizer on Alzheimer's, and you know,
Mm.
I I ended up going to a good university and all that stuff, getting a good job. And so when it came time to deciding, what I wanted to do, like, yes, obviously I wanted to make money to sustain myself, but I also wanted to be able to see who I could bring up with me.
Mhm.
And so, I did a lot of like free tutoring and mentorship. I coach girls on the run, to try to continue engaging those around me, and also inspire, future generation of young girls, young boys to pursue whatever it is. And so when I went to go start this first nonprofit, which really was the trigger point for the rest of the career,
Okay.
I thought, wow, what better way than to take, the skills that I had learned in engineering school, my love of community organization, and then looking out at the international world to see how we could translate this into like a sustainable organization.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say like before child was the trigger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know that I came from my parents both volunteered and they bring me to volunteer. And I remember one of the things that they used to say was the fact that like they used to see that uh the only thing that separates us is God's good grace a lot of times. And a lot of times people are born into different situations, even when it comes to children. They work with the Ronald McDonald House, helping
Hmm.
that works with kids. And a
Hmm.
lot of them come from backgrounds that they can't afford the surgeries they need and whatnot. But they used to work their jobs. My mom worked two jobs at one point, and they would go work their daytime jobs, and they would go volunteer at the Ronald McDonald House.
Mm.
Kind of sounds like, and that's helped shape me because I do volunteer work too. But
Hmm.
seeing how they saw what other people came from, and even themselves, because we didn't come from wealth or anything like that. My parents worked hard, just like it seems like your parents did. That really helped shape who I am as well. Now, with you, going back to what you were saying, with seeing, you said it, what your parents did to get you here has made a huge impact on not just your own life, but how you probably view others and why you got into this, which is very noble. And I commend you for that. Even at, you said at the age of 21 is when you decided, I mean, you're still I mean, you're not a child at that point because technically you're adult, but that's pretty
Yeah.
young to decide, hey, I'm going to do this to try and better the world around me. And sorry, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going with that. It's just I'm blown away by it, to say the least, because a lot of people don't. Sometimes people come from different backgrounds and they don't think about giving back or helping, but it seems like that's something that's already ingrained into your nature, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of second nature. I think a lot of and young people, young adults, teenagers, children, they are all doing incredible stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And so I don't think of myself as unique, but maybe I have this platform through you today to be able to share that.
Yeah. No,
No, but I truly feel like there's so much amazing work that's being done. And I think a lot of it does go back to, the parenting and the upbringing and having a supportive family and community and friends who say you can do anything.
yeah.
It doesn't matter, your credentials, your age, your access to resources. Just go out and you try. So I think so much of the approach into life has come from this very like deep self-confidence and
Mhm.
not in like a pretentious or cocky way, but
Yeah.
just I can do it, and that resilience and that grit. And also, I think when you come from rather humble beginnings, you kind of know where you could be and where you started. And so I'm very much not afraid to try and fail because
Absolutely.
the worst thing that comes from trying and failing is that you kind of go back to where you started and you start again.
Yeah.
And then you would have retained all these lessons that you learned along the way. Like I always say, I don't need to go to business school. I
Yeah.
have been to business
Yeah.
school
In life.
like in life, like these are all lessons. Like every time you try something new, you're pushing your brain and so you're learning all these things. So then when you try again, you can be better. When you try again, you can be better. And then there are like these secondary and second and third degree impacts of your work, like unintended, that come out of it. So like this nonprofit, right? It didn't scale the way we wanted it to. It was all volunteer based, and we didn't really get the funding that we needed, I think, to really become huge.
Mhm.
But all of the university partners that we worked with, all of these incredible grassroots organizations, they were given an opportunity to do something and to get the support from international partners that they might not have.
Yeah.
So we partnered with the University of Antananarivo, which is the capital of Madagascar, and we were working
Okay.
with
Where in the world is that?
working with some students at the time to develop this
Okay.
biodigester for biogas. And these students went off to get their PhDs because they used the project as their graduate school
Yeah.
thesis. They
Awesome.
got their PhDs and then they became professors. And
Wow.
so it's like, wow, I didn't even think that as a 21-year-old that I could inspire someone on the opposite
Yeah.
side of the planet to then become a professor. And
Absolutely.
then other friends were like, because it was all a whole bunch of students who started it. I had friends who really used like the nonprofit as their first professional experience,
Okay.
which then helped them build a resume. And then now they're like doing these amazing things at these huge Fortune 500 companies. And then it really started with us because, we created the experience that other people might not have given us because they wouldn't have taken a chance on us.
You
Absolutely.
have,
Man, that's
you've,
so, sorry.
Brad, you have accomplished so much, Mary, in such a short period of time and made such a powerful impact. But I'm going to ask a few questions here because my mind is like, ooh, go ahead, Carol, get that science in your head and move in different directions to ask Mary some questions. But you've served in so many, or worked on so many different assignments and created so many different things. Which one most shaped how you see the intersection between technology and humanity?
Wow, Mama Rush, that is a fabulous question. And I think it's like one that is very forefront right now because everyone is like talking about AI and the ethics of it and, deep fakes and generative AI and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Um, but, like humanity, we have been at the intersection of technology since the invention of the wheel and the
Uh-huh.
invention of fire, but how that relationship has really evolved over time. And I think technology has been a tool to help us do what we need to do, but more efficiently,
Mhm.
faster, better, safer, etc.
Mhm.
And actually, right now, in my last couple of assignments working on emerging technology policy, I've started to think critically about how these emerging technologies are interacting with people, but not on a physical matter, but on this emotional manner, and how our thoughts and our perceptions of the world are so deeply shaped by technology. So social media, the algorithms are really written to be, sort of addictive, but also reinforcing of your own thoughts. And so when you go on there, you rarely see, posts or content that's shared that dramatically differs than I think what you think.
Mhm.
And so we are very much operating in these echo chambers, and even, the news that we read and just like the consumption of information has become so tailored to the individual that it has made it challenging, I think, for society as a whole and individuals to have difficult conversations.
Hmm.
Conversations that are critical for the continuous maturation of society, as of our democracy, of humanity. And so I think the last few years I've been just hyper attuned to the intersection of technology and humanity, because it's gone beyond just like the tool aspect or the physicality aspect, but it's gone very much into the psychosis and the
Mhm.
thought process. And I think that is potentially so much more dangerous or so
Oh,
much more beneficial, depending
okay.
on how it's applied.
Okay. Okay. All righty. Well, and then Brandon, I'm going to ask another
Oh, you
question.
go ahead, Mom. I know you have some questions coming. Yeah, you're good.
Government, what do you think America did right in science and tech policies, and where do you think we still need to grow?
Yeah, I mean, the US for the last, gosh, half century
Mhm.
has been a sustaining leader in science and technology, research and development, innovation. Again, going back to the psychology of things, we because I've lived in different countries. I've lived in communist regimes, I've lived in socialist regimes, I've lived in democracies, and as a US diplomat, but still experiencing and hearing from local communities.
Yes.
I think the beautiful thing about the American approach to things is that we embrace creativity, we embrace taking chances and dreaming big, and really pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And I think what the government has done right is invest heavily into this.
Okay.
You look at NASA, right? What
Mhm.
other country around the world has invested that amount of money from the
Mhm.
beginning to be able to put a man on the moon? Really
Yes.
no other country. And the same thing is applicable for all sorts of technologies, medical innovations,
Mhm.
um, inventions that we take for granted on a day to day. Even, the invention of the internet, it didn't come out of the government, but in a way, they were precursor technologies that help enable and unlock that. And so, the heavy investment into the scientific enterprise, into R&D, into the research institutions, so NIH, CDC, NASA, DOE, all the ARPA, so DARPA, ARPA-E, ARPA-H, funding research at the different universities through academia has been one of the reasons that the US has historically been ahead in this.
Oh, I love hearing
I think what we're experiencing is this shift, this fundamental shift, where if you look at the past, all the very capital intensive R&D with very little, with very long timelines on the return for investment, has shifted. So previously it was government. Government was pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into R&D, and they were hoping for breakthroughs. But they weren't like VCs hunting for that, huge ROI, return on investment, to try to make money on it, to grow and to scale. They were really hedging, and they were betting on some sort of breakthrough down the line. And the government was one with the money. But now, if you look at who has the money, single companies like NVIDIA has a market value of like $4 trillion. And so their ability, like the private sector's ability to be able to invest, is going to start outpacing the ability for the government to be able to invest. And so there's a shift now, that the drivers of innovation that used to be very heavily federally backed is now going to start shifting towards the private sector, where the innovation and the capital is going to come from private sector actors.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, and we're watching this transition. And I think the difference is historically, like the government is acting on and investing in things that are for the betterment of humanity and the betterment of the nation, and these long-term kind of non-monetary sorts of returns, but companies, they are companies, they're for-profit entities. And so their driving force is to gain a return on investment. And so I think one of my concerns is that, and my hopes is that these companies that are investing in the future, they're the ones shaping the future of the planet, are making these decisions through, a values-based decision matrix, with strong ethics and morals in mind, and doing lots of introspection as well, thinking through, what is the social impact, what is the environmental impact, what might be the downstream, again, second and third degree impacts of this, both positive and negative. How does this play into geopolitics? And so, yeah, it's very complicated. And I think the government, is in a tricky position to try to balance this, right? Because it no longer carries all of the purse strings. Obviously, it has a lot of funding, but not everything. And what types of conversations does it have with the private sector so that it doesn't stifle innovation by, imposing too many rules and restrictions, but still having the safeguards to ensure that everything is still being done ethically, and that we try to mitigate all of the potential negative impacts.
That's what I'm concerned about, the ethical values within that whole scope of things that you just mentioned. So if you were to wave a magic wand to fix one challenge in U.S. tech leadership globally, what?
Rush, you're trying to get me in trouble.
Okay, well, hey, I'll switch it up.
No, I love the question, though. I love the question.
Okay, yeah. Well, we don't want to get you in any trouble, Mary. So we can ask something else.
Ask that question but I like the fact about the ethical values in anything that's done, and who oversees that process, and within companies that work ethically correctly to manifest beautiful things out there for society. That's what I'm about. So let's move on. All right.
Absolutely. Mary, question for you.
Alrighty.
Because you've worked in so many different areas, and then even at this last thing, you decided to branch out and start your, I think you said a space company, space technology company, and a sports technology company. What kind of advice would you have for anybody? Sometimes people in lifetime, they get stuck into either a job that they might not like, or just afraid to take that risk and branch out. What is it about you that makes you say, hey, you know what? I can leave where I'm at right now and I can go branch out and try and do this. What do you think is, what advice would you give to a person who's on the fence like that? Who's like, man, you know, I'm working this job, but it's not, I'm not, maybe my soul's not in it, or I feel like I could be doing more, or just the ability to take that. I mean, it's taking a risk. I understand why I take a risk, but for a person, what kind of advice would you have for a person just thinking like, hey, you know what? It's okay to leave this job. I can try and believe in myself and bank on myself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we miss all the shots that we don't take, right? So uh, n- not everyone has the same financial situation, the same amount of stability. You know, I have two kids that I'm responsible for. So, you know, I would say don't go into any decision overnight. You know, think about it, take some
Yeah.
time and reflect and, you know, understand what your situation is and what you're capable of doing, how much your time you're able to take off. I don't think there's anything wrong with people working on concepts and ideas, you know, nights and weekends to try to explore their ideas, to do some market research, to talk to friends and family, or even build things. A lot of these, you know, big successful companies were built while people were still working other jobs and eventually, you know, decided to leave. I think if you want to do the stable route where, you know, you maintain your full-time job and then you work on something nights and weekends, that's totally fine until you hit a point where, you know, there's enough traction. So, you know, if you design a product or service, if it's going well and you're getting, you know, customers or users or whatnot, and you decide, okay, I think I can take a break and focus on this full time, then great. I do think, and this is the advice that I got as well, is that it's very hard, nearly impossible for any founder to truly build a company part-time though,
Okay.
because you just need to be in it 110%.
Absolutely.
And I work more now than I ever did before, and I worked a lot before because it's an obsession. It's an
Yeah.
obsession. You work all day, you know, you're in meetings and then you work at night. You don't even realize you're working and you work on the weekends. Like someone said to me the other day, how was your weekend? I was like, was it the weekend?
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're that focused on what you're doing.
Well, and you know, obviously you balance and I have family and friends and social
Yeah.
life and all that stuff. But what it is, it's like this obsession. And I think if you're not obsessed with either the mission or the product or service or your team or some major element of your company, also don't do it. Like if you're just lukewarm about it, then why spend the time or energy? You know, that is precious time that you're working on it. So I would say, you know, be obsessed with some element of the company, whether it's the innovation or your mission or your co-founders and you just love working together. But really, really like be super passionate about that. Um, think about the money, but don't think about the money.
Yeah.
Obviously, you need to think about the financials and how the cash flow is going to work. But if you're just out there trying to make money, you might make some money. But if you're out there really solving a real world problem, then
Absolutely.
automatically that market will just appear. And, you know, if it's a real problem and you have a real solution, you could be very successful.
Okay. So,
I know that you've led at the highest levels of government and now as a founder. What leadership principles have stayed constant for both of these worlds for you?
Yeah, yeah. Integrity. So is leading with integrity and
Go ahead.
sometimes it might not seem that way to other people because they don't necessarily see what's happening behind the scenes,
Hmm?
but carrying that integrity with you internally. So even if you make a decision that is, you know, unfavorable, it's still made with integrity. Um, Transparency. So being transparent about what you're doing, how you're doing it with your teammates, with your investors, with the community of advisors that you built. Be transparent when you're hitting hard times, when something isn't working, because you never know, someone might have a great idea to come in and help you. Accountability is a big one. So accountability to your teammates, accountability to yourself. And I would say accountability to yourself is very important to me because you make that promise to yourself and you need to hold yourself accountable.
Absolutely.
So I would say if I were to choose the top three, those would probably be the top three.
Okay. I'm gonna throw a lighthearted one in there too. Speaking of top threes, when you were traveling to these different countries that you worked in, or even what were your favorite, I guess three or two, if you, whichever one, what were your favorite three, your top three that when you were doing your travel?
To live in or to travel to?
You can do either or. Which do you prefer?
I loved living in Paris.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about Paris
I,
then.
I was in Paris for several years and I love the French language.
Okay.
I love the French food.
Okay.
The architecture in Paris is stunning, like the way that the city was laid out, and I love public transportation.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
the ability to like, get around without
Yeah,
having to drive
easily.
and
Yeah.
park. And I had such a great group of friends there that I still keep in touch with, that I visit as often as I can.
Okay.
And really, Paris is like, I someday I would love to go have an apartment there.
Okay.
But
I
yeah,
can, you're shining up talking about Paris.
yeah, and then to visit, I mean, this is a little cliche. To visit, I really loved Bali, Indonesia.
Oh, I've heard one of my friends lives there.
It's just so beautiful.
Is it
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
So glad you mentioned Paris because I've often told Brandon that's a place I want to visit because my mother spoke fluent French and
Oh,
she worked on her master's in Paris. And
oh,
she taught school for so many years until she was 82 years of age teaching French. And it's just a city I wanted to take her before she went on to be with the Lord. And so I didn't get a chance to do that. Maybe Brandon will get a chance to visit Paris. Now, are you speak the language?
oh, I love that story. You should definitely take Brandon. Oui, je parle français.
Oh, we
A little bit.
keep just a little bit for me.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Mary, question for you because I don't want to hold you up too long because I know you probably have to get back to your day to day. What? Tell me about these new companies that you're working with and exactly what your goal is with those, or what is the sports company? What is it you're hoping to do with that? I guess.
Yeah, so I'll talk about one and then the other. So the sports, I call it a sports, but it's really sports, fitness, wellness, technology company. We're looking to build community around that. So
Okay.
again, it's going back to my roots of building community and offering a technology platform that makes it easier for people to be able to find workout buddies, to be able to find friends who love pickleball as much as them, who want to
Mhm.
go on a walk together, to find local run clubs, to find local, tennis clubs. I'm somewhat of a nomad, so I'm constantly traveling, moving around.
Okay.
And the one thing I always look for in wherever I'm going is like a local gym or something like a run club, because I feel like the people that you meet through these clubs, you always have like similar interests, like
Yeah.
in health and wellness and finding activities that are good for you rather than, just going out and going to the bar or something like that. And
Okay.
so the technology company, our mission is to connect people around health, fitness, wellness, for the space company, it's completely different,
Okay.
but somewhat similar. So our mission is to unlock space for all. And in the past, people who have wanted to start companies or to do work in space
Mhm.
had to raise a ton of money to build these huge satellites, which takes time and millions of dollars to get on orbit to be able to do what they're doing. It could be a sensor company, it could be an optics company, whatever it might be, some technology company.
Okay.
And so what we're doing is we're taking away that pain. So instead of you having to build this giant satellite bus, we will host you the same way that Airbnb hosts people
Okay.
temporarily, or that AWS now has cloud computing. Because before, for computing, you had to have your own server. But
Yeah.
then AWS, now they have a cloud server, so people don't have to buy that themselves. And so if a company, I'm going to go back to like the sensor company, all they have to do is focus on their technology,
Yeah.
put it in a, little box, and we will host them on our orbital platform, kind
Oh,
of like this, Airbnb for space
yeah.
infrastructure.
Absolutely.
And and what it is, it's going back to um bringing in more people from academia, researchers, innovators, other startups, early stage companies. There are now over 80 space agencies around the world,
Mhm.
and 25 of them have come out in the last 3 years.
Okay.
But there's only 16 spacefaring countries, which means the vast majority of countries with space agencies with ambitions in space don't necessarily have the means to get up
Yeah.
in space. And so
Mhm.
can we serve as, a platform for them to be able to still get on orbit, but not
Okay.
have to jump through all the hurdles to get there? So those are the
Okay.
two companies. Yeah.
That's pretty
It,
awesome.
that brings up something. When you mentioned that, I was thinking about, well, how do you see wearable technology and AI changing how we train, recover, and understand our bodies?
Yeah, I love wearables, even though I personally don't wear any. I think the concept is great. Know thyself. The
Uh-huh.
more we know, the better. And having data to support whatever it is you're trying to accomplish is always
Mhm.
a great thing to be able to measure against.
Mhm.
And there are constantly new technologies coming out in that space.
Mhm.
I personally am not, building a wearable device, but it would be great
Mhm.
to be able to, for example, build in their APIs into my technology and the platform so that
Uh-huh.
someone could be able to track that as well.
Uh-huh.
Long-term goal. But yeah,
Okay.
I think it's great, for people to have more awareness and also be able to have healthy competition with friends and say, how many steps did you take today and all that stuff.
Okay.
Because a lot of getting healthier is just awareness about where you are and how you
Uh-huh.
can improve.
Absolutely.
That's
Mary, Mom, I'm gonna make sure you have another question before I ask one.
No, I'm about finishing my questions.
Okay,
I
Mary,
mean,
ask you just one serious question before, not that serious,
Hmm.
before getting into the lightning round.
Hmm.
Just a bunch of series of just quick questions. What
Yeah.
would you tell your 18-year-old self? With everything you've been through, what would you tell your 18-year-old self if you could go back?
Buy Apple stock.
Ah,
No, that's a little, yes, but a little bit of a joke there. I would tell 18-year-old self, trust yourself.
Mhm.
yeah.
Trust yourself. You've got this,
Oh,
I don't honestly, I don't regret any decision I've made
good.
uh because of the learning side of things. Am I a billionaire? No, I'm not. But am I very happy with where I am in life and all the experiences I've had? Yes, very happy.
All right. I love it. All right, I'm going to the lightning round of questions.
before she
I'll
does that, I
start off.
want to ask her about her
Yeah.
kids. You have two children.
Yes, I do.
Do you have time to have fun with those kids. I mean, you have so much going on and all of that, and
Yeah,
to witness and be
yeah.
a part of their little lives growing up in
Oh
this
my
world
gosh.
and impact them
They're
like
so
as your parents have done for you. So your community, do you have
yeah.
community that helps with that now too, as you
Yeah,
did as a kid?
yeah. Yeah, and that's, one of the reasons that we're here is to be closer to family. We have lots of friends and neighbors who
Um,
are all, we're all just like one big village.
great.
But yeah, so I have two girls,
Uh,
one age 6, one age 9, and they are the cutest, most amazing kids ever. And I say
Oh,
this not just because I'm their mom, but
uh-huh,
I just love watching them. I love
uh-huh,
observing them
uh-huh.
and listening to them and what they're saying and the conversations they have and how they think. And I'm just completely marveled at them.
Isn't
So no, it's a huge blessing to be a mom, and it's
Yes, it
definitely
is.
the greatest gift.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have two sons and a grandson now, and I have really
Oh,
enjoyed just being a part of our children's lives. Brandon's father went on to be with the Lord as well. He died of pancreatic cancer. But with that said, just having and watching your kids develop and become so successful, and yours are just young, but the conversations they're having, it tells me that what you all are doing as a family really will influence what they continue to make in this world. Way, 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 when you decide one day you're gonna stop and just look at them and spend time with them. So I'm so glad as a mother that you now, do they do ballet? Do they play sports? Do they do any of the extracurricular activities that
yes.
human being?
Oh yeah. So my younger one is obsessed with gymnastics,
Oh, wow.
Oh,
and
great.
she's extremely talented. And so we've really leaned into that and gotten her all of the apparatuses. So we've got the bar, the beam, the floor mats, and everything at home. And she's just gymnastics all day, and she really is
Oh,
so talented.
oh,
Um, yeah, and my older one also does gymnastics as her sport, but she's really very creative. She's really into theater, and she has the leading role at her school's play. She loves to, draw these whole comic books and write, and
hmm.
um, I can definitely see her in the creative space in the future. Yeah, I'm very proud of both of them.
What a blessing. What a
Uh,
blessing. And Brandon, that's just up your alley
yes, ma'am. I didn't do
with
theater in
your
high
acting career.
school. I didn't do acting until after college. Mary, so I'm gonna do a quick lightning round of questions. Favorite hair tool you can't live without? Sorry, that's even wrong one. Is there? Do you have? Actually, you know what? What's your favorite item for the gym? Let me do that one. I don't even know that was on there.
A bottle of water.
A bottle of water.
Stay hydrated.
Okay. Sorry, my question
Or do
got
you mean
mixed
like
up.
a piece of equipment, or do you
Yeah, like
mean
yeah, it could be
oh
a piece of equipment. Yeah, but if you want
um
to do that, that works.
oh okay. I love the barbell. Oh no, I love the sled. I love sled push and sled pull.
Really? That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a difficult one from time to time.
Well, I've done high rocks a few times now, and I really love the sled.
Okay, all right. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
works. Your favorite tech gadget right now?
My phone?
Okay.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It works for me. Do you like coffee, green tea, or regular tea? Or green tea smoothie or regular tea? What's your drink of choice?
Um, I love dirty chai lattes.
Really? That's
And
interesting.
if you haven't had one, you have to try
What
it.
are they
Wait, yeah,
called?
what's in the? Does it have alcohol
I
in it?
have to write that one down. What is it called?
It's chai. It's a chai latte, and they add extra shots of espresso.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. Let me write that one
yeah.
down.
Oh
I never.
yeah.
Yeah, when you said dirty, I was thinking martini for some reason.
A- and your mind will explode from the caffeine rush afterward.
Oh gosh, I don't know if my heart can handle that. What one word defines your work ethic?
Gritty.
Ooh, okay. I dig that one. And then here's the final lightning round question for you. If you could host a panel of three innovators from the living or the past, who would it be?
Who would they be?
Oh, Albert Einstein,
Okay.
um, Marie Curie,
Now who's that? I'm sorry, I actually don't know who she. You said
It's
Marie.
energy.
Marie Curie. So she was a scientist and researcher for radiology, and she actually died because of overexposure.
Holy smokes. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. But she really innovated there. And Ada Lovelace.
Okay, and tell me who Ada Lovelace is. I'm sorry for me not knowing.
She was kind of like the original human computer.
Oh wow.
So yeah. I would call her like the first human computer.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah,
like
so
that.
we can thank her for her early work that inspired what a lot of programmers are working on these days.
Okay, Mary, that's wow. I like it. And then final one. This is the final one. Wolverines or Spartans?
Oh, come on. I'm from
Yeah.
Ann Arbor.
Okay.
Wolverines. Oh,
Okay, I just had to hear you
wow.
say it. I just had to hear you say it.
Go blue.
Yeah, no, for
And we
sure.
have such our team has been doing really well these last few years, so I'm proud of them.
I
Well,
tell you,
yeah,
Mary, hasn't she been such a delight? Mary,
Mary, you really have been a delight today, and we appreciate you both. You have such a bright spirit and personality, and like a lot of positivity comes off of you, which is a good thing.
yeah, we can feel that spirit that you have. And I just love what you said about the integrity, the transparency, and accountability. And I hope our young viewers really listen to you, because they will come back, Mary, with questions that they may have. And you touched on so many interesting subjects, and to see such a young person as you are with such wisdom and accomplishments at this point, I know the world is going to continue to be better because you exist in it.
Amen.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for doing this show and giving all of these incredible people a platform. And yeah, I just really appreciate everything you're doing and for your time today.
Absolutely, Mary. Absolutely. Well, Mary, one thing we do at the end is we give everyone a clap. They might not be able to see my mom clapping, but we're about to clap for you.
Ready. We do this.
Oh no, for you, for you.
Great job, fabulous. Okay.
Yeah, Mary, you're absolutely wonderful today. Well, look, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy day and week, because I know you got some kind of tech thingy right now. That's pretty big to come and spend this time with us. So we thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, you have a wonderful day.
Great one. Be safe and enjoy this life that God has given you.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.